Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers, is brought to you by Scoville.com. Try Scoville.com's hot sauce subscription box, where you pick the heat, flavor, and food pairings you want in your box. Get 1 or 3 bottles delivered to your door each month. Choose your heat level, flavor profile, and food pairings. And it's completely customizable each month. You no longer have to worry about getting sauces you don't like or won't use. Scoville.com specially curates each month's box based on your personal preferences. And best of all, High Desert Sauce Co., Butterfly Bakery of Vermont, and Irish Spike's unique hot sauces are all available at Scoville.com.
I now have a dedicated hot sauce fridge in the basement because once it got to the point where it was a little over a third of our main fridge was hot sauces, I was like, it's probably time to get a separate fridge.
I actually periodically...
He is one of us.
Right.
He's one of us.
Welcome to Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers. I'm Spike.
And I'm Claire.
And today we're talking to KENJI Lopez-ALT, James Beard award-winning author of The Food Lab and The Walk, restaurant owner, children's book author, culinary jack of all trades. Oh, and of course, not podcaster, but YouTuber. Big time.
Yeah, well, now podcaster as well. Oh, my podcast's coming out at the end of the month, end of February.
Oh, I did see something about that.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Maybe it's already out by the time this episode comes out.
Yeah, this will be about 2 weeks out, two and a half weeks.
So my podcast will have probably just dropped.
Awesome.
It's called The Recipe.
Mm-hmm. What'd you say it's called?
It's called The Recipe with KENJI and Deb.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm doing it with Deb Perlman from Smitten Kitchen.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's great.
And
I'll totally listen to that.
KENJI, you're in you used to be in San Mateo, right?
That's right.
Claire is from the Bay Area.
I'm from Berkeley.
Yeah.
All right.
Now,
where Heat Hot Sauce is located, right?
Yeah, well, they were.
Heat is in Oakland. They're in Oakland, right?
They're in Alameda or San Leandro now, but they started in Berkeley.
Okay, yeah. Got it.
But I live in Vermont now.
San Leandro.
Oh, cool. Yeah, no, I'm not originally from the Bay Area. I moved there in 2000. Let's see, what was it? Must have been like 2014 or 15 for my wife's job mainly. But I'm originally from the East Coast. Grew up in New York and Boston.
Nice.
Between New York and Boston.
And
I'm a Philly boy.
You're a Philly boy. Nice.
Are you still the part owner of Worst Hall?
I am not. No, we moved to Seattle 3 years ago, and when we did that, I didn't want to try and operate a restaurant from a different city. So no, I gave up my stake in that restaurant when we moved here.
I can understand.
So I currently don't own any restaurant.
Ah, okay.
How does that feel?
No.
It feels great.
So I want to tell you why I wanted you to be on here. We usually have hot sauce makers on here, but I've wanted you to be on this podcast since it began. Like literally right after I badgered Zac to start this.
Okay.
All of us are kind of we're nerds for
science.
Yeah, I mean,
Food.
yeah,
Food nerds.
food science nerds. So the hot sauce industry, I'm sure you've seen this, is kind of inundated with a lot of people trying to get into the hot sauce industry and not necessarily getting all the health requirements taken care of, knowing what the FDA regs are, anything like that. Well, we're all kind of geeks on that stuff, and we really want to see kind of the hot sauce industry move towards more
regulated and more
regulated.
Yeah, to me, it feels like I feel like there's so many when you go to like the state fair or you go to the farmer's market, that's where I see the majority of like small batch hot sauces, is like just a chef or an individual or somebody making hot sauce, I don't know, in their garage or something, who brings it to the farmer's market or brings it to the fair and sells it there. And I've actually always wondered if there's like, are there and I'm sure the answer is probably yes, but are there big like hot sauce making facilities where like a chef can just go and say, hey, I want to make a hot sauce with these flavors, and they will mix those things up for you and put them in a jar and then put your label on them and sell them to people?
So Claire would be the one of us that could accommodate that.
So besides our own branded product, we're also a co-packer. So we make other people's products for them with their
So
their label.
Just like when we got sausages co-packed, you would
100%. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Just like that.
Interesting. Okay.
And
so it'd be very easy for me to like plug and play and say, hey, let's make a Kenji hot sauce and say
100%.
I want it to taste like roasted garlic and hibiscus.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
I think roasted garlic and hibiscus sounds good. Like, especially I feel like the sweetness of the garlic with the hibiscus and
the tartness of the hibiscus.
Right. And like the stereotypical would be to go with like a honey or something really sweet with the hibiscus. But I feel like the roasted garlic would pull that out in a certain way. So I'm not sure what chili pepper, like a ghost or a habanero with that. Would be really good.
And is it like, do you have like a facility there with just like tons and tons of ingredients? And are those ingredients all fresh? Are they purees? Are they like dried things that you reconstitute? Like, is it a mix of everything?
So at Butterfly Bakery of Vermont, our whole thing is our relationship to farms. So we source all of our products directly from farms, all of our ingredients, all of our produce.
Okay.
We also make like goat's milk caramel, and we get that directly from the farm, get the milk from to farm. So we have like a 2,000 square foot freezer full of like chili peppers and onions and garlic and all of that.
Wow.
So that's for our own product. But then we also, because we're a co-packer, we store lots of other people's ingredients for them as well. So some of those are in our freezer, some are in our cooler, some are dried, some are mashes, some, everything.
Got it. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm interviewing you here.
Well,
you're okay.
Claire.
However this plays out.
And this is one of the things I was so excited about because I knew that you'd love this. So all of Claire's ingredients for their stuff are Vermont sourced.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Everything is within 200 miles of our kitchen, sometimes within 10 miles. So.
Oh wow. Okay. So you do a lot of seasonal work. I mean, your work changes throughout the year.
Yeah. So like right now I'm putting in my orders for peppers for this fall. And then, and so I'm reaching out to all the farms, seeing what they can grow based on what we need. And then once I hear back from all of them, I'm going to email them again and say, this is my order to you for this fall. And then those will come in the fall. Hopefully they all come in as we want them to come in, but it doesn't always. The years vary. And then we'll put them in the freezer and use them for the entire rest of the year. So we're trying to project almost 2 years out what our needs are, which
right.
During the pandemic has been a ride.
Oh yeah.
So Kenji, what got you into spicy food and hot sauce? And
my dad. I mean, I remember when I must have been 6 or 7 years old. We took a family trip to Cape Cod. And on this trip was the first time I ate a raw oyster and a raw clam, and also and when I started to get into hot sauce, because I remember we were staying at a friend of ours who had a house out on Cape Cod, lent us the house for the week, and so we were staying there. My sisters and I would go out each morning to the beach at low tide and dig up clams, and then we'd go harvesting oysters and bring them back home. And remember sitting on the back porch one night with my dad, and he opened up one of the clams because we had steamed some of the clams, and he opened up one of them raw and was eating it. And he had like a little jar of like some kind of salsa verde. I can't remember if it was homemade or if it was just a jar from the store, but it was like spicy salsa verde that he was putting on this raw clam and eating. And he was like, "Yeah, come here, Ken, like have a raw clam with me." And so I remember sitting down with my dad and thinking this is weird. And then I remember him telling me that the hot sauce was going to be hot, and me thinking, okay, like in my head, like, oh, I can't be a wimp. I better eat this and not have a reaction. I feel like I mean, I remember it being very hot, but I do feel like I hid my reaction well, although maybe he had a different experience watching me. But that was basically it. It was like, oh, cool. Like my dad likes spicy things. I guess I'm going to like spicy things too. And my dad, he's a white guy from Pennsylvania, but he's super into both Mexican and Chinese cuisine. And so we spent a lot of time growing up, both in New York and Boston. We spent a lot of time like going to Chinatown, finding Mexican restaurants and basically, just eating. He was always in search of spicy food. And I would tag along with him. So I was exposed to a lot of spicy food as a kid. And it's kind of Same with my daughter. Like my daughter now, she's 6, and at least once a week she'll ask for a little bowl, like like a 1 or 2 ounce bowl, to have on the side of her plate so that she could fill it with chili oil, and she just eats it straight out of the container.
That's awesome.
Like out of the little cup. Yeah.
I'm envious. My kids are like, I have one kid who's like, it's so spicy, black pepper. I'm like, oh, I failed as a parent.
How old is your kid?
That one is 7. I've got a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old. Our into spicy food with them is junk food, because we don't really let them eat junk food, but we'll let them eat spicy junk food. I think it'll happen. I didn't eat my first habanero until I was 9, so
Yeah.
Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers, is brought to you by Irish Spike's unique hot sauces and Vandal pepper sauces. I'm Spike, the owner and executive saucier. Our sauces are handmade in the Pacific Northwest using the best possible ingredient. We believe that hot sauce equates to a balance of sensational heat coupled with a robust and complex flavor profile. Live your hottest life with Irish Spikes. Irish Spike's unique hot sauces and Vandal pepper sauces are available at saucecult.com.
And what's your favorite pepper now?
Oh, mine, red jalapeno. Jalapeno, okay. I know that sounds like super boring. But here, I got into the way that we do hot sauces just kind of because it's what happened, farmer's market and all that stuff, back porch, making hot sauce. But so I started working with the farms, and I think we just stumbled into varietals because the varieties that we get for red jalapenos are just fantastic. And they're just so sweet and juicy and like way hotter than supermarket jalapenos. And they're just so good. And I just love the versatility. So
red jalapenos, if I understand right, are just green jalapenos that have been allowed to ripen longer, or are they completely separate? That's correct?
Yeah, just red.
And those are different. Those are a different species or a different cultivar from Fresno chilies?
Yes.
Which look kind of like red jalapenos? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a million different pepper varieties out there.
Yeah, I mean, at Warsaw, my restaurant, we fermented Fresno chilies.
Yep.
For our like sort of house. It wasn't really a hot sauce, but it was like we had like a sort of Fresno fermented chili relish that we used in a bunch of things, like mixed it into our queso dip and stuff like that.
I find that Fresnos are a little bit more bitter than jalapenos. I think I like the Fresnos and Serranos have like a little bitter edge to them, which is fine. Mm-hmm. I like that purpose, but I just like how sweet a red jalapeno is.
Yeah, I remember when I was probably like 9 years old. I had an uncle married into the family who was also super into spicy food, and he would grow he grew hot peppers. So his wife, who was my mother's cousin, would tell us that she would wake up some mornings. She would wake up at like 7 a.m, go look out the window, and she'd see her husband like sitting in the garden, just sitting there with a garden hose in his mouth because he had gone out and like eaten a bunch of peppers and then had to like cool off. So he would wake up at like 5:30, go out to his garden, just start eating hot chilies, and then sit with a garden hose in his mouth. And so the same uncle, he visited us in New York once, and he went down to a restaurant in Chinatown by himself and asked the chef there to make the spiciest thing they could. And he was probably a little bit drunk at the time as well, but he ate this dish and then fainted, like collapsed in the restaurant, passed out in the restaurant from the heat, and then woke up to like, the police came, the ambulance came, the police came, and he didn't want to go to a hospital. So he basically bolted from the restaurant. Ran away because the chili was too hot.
Sounds like my kind of thing.
I've done that before, and I've regretted it. And I eat pretty spicy stuff, but it always gets me. So
for me, that incident was I was in Sichuan. I don't remember how long ago, maybe 7-8 years ago, Sichuan in China, and there was this one dish that I wanted to try. It was this stir-fried dish with chicken and fresh green chilies, really, really hot fresh green chilies. And so I went to this one restaurant that they told me makes the best version of it. I was by myself when I went there because my wife didn't want to go with me just to eat spicy food. So I went to this restaurant and I ordered like 4 dishes for myself because I wanted to try them all. And it comes out and it's just massive, massive portions, like enough to feed, a family of 8 people was on the table in front of me. It was one of those things where the server kind of like looked at me when I ordered the dish as if like, he's like, oh, this like not Chinese looking guy wants to order like the spiciest dish on the menu. Is he going to regret this? And so when the dish came, of course, like I couldn't chicken out again. And so I started eating it. Oh my God. Like I did feel like I was going to pass out. And I had to kind of like push my way through a dozen bites or so before I asked him to pack it up and bring it back. But yeah, there's limits to how much the human body can take, I think, for me at least.
I went to Indian food last night, and they're like, "How hot you want it?" And I looked her dead in her eye, and I was like, "I want you to hurt me." They did not accomplish
No.
what I asked.
Zach's got a
do.
superhuman spice tolerance, so.
Man.
Yeah.
It's funny because everyone's tolerances are different, right? And so like even me, it's like when I recommend hot sauces, I generally don't recommend like crazy hot sauces because I just don't eat that many crazy hot sauces. But even the moderate ones I recommend, sometimes people are like, oh, that's like this one that doesn't have a balance of flavor and heat. And it's like, well, what does that even mean, a balance of flavor and heat, right? Like there's flavor and there's heat. And it's like you can take a certain amount of flavor of heat, but that doesn't take away from the flavor. Like the amount of heat you can tolerate is different for every person. But the amount of flavor in there is the same no matter what. So it's like something that tastes balanced to someone could taste really hot to someone else. And it's not like necessarily a flaw of just the sauce. It's just like, maybe it's not the right sauce for you, you know? That's how I feel, at least. I don't know.
I feel like there are some sauces that are just designed to kill you, and that's it.
Sure,
that's all they're, de bomb, whatever, those things that. But yeah, I feel like, you just play with the flavor, and I've definitely had people say, "Oh, that's just hot," and I'm like, "Well, that's you can't taste the flavor because the heat's too much." So,
right.
Yeah.
Or you're just not used to that level of heat, so it's distracting you from the flavors.
Yeah.
So you're not.
It just means their tolerance isn't that high. That's all.
Yeah.
It's a tolerance thing.
Kenji, your cooking show is so unique and interesting and fun to watch. Is this something that you've gotten any like interest in poking around from like Food Network or from other channels to like turn it into something more? Or is it something you even want to do?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's been a lot of interest. I've been speaking with, I don't know, production companies for years about doing various shows here and there. I'm not sure how to turn what I do into like a TV type of show. It feels like, what I do on YouTube right now, actually, so for years before I started doing this sort of first person, stick a camera on my head and just cook style show, which is what has sort of really struck with my audience so far. But for years I was doing, I did a bunch of other stuff, like tried to develop some other types of shows, some more scripted stuff. We did like a video series, a 6-part mini series based on the Food Lab that was released on Serious Eats maybe 10 years back. 12 years back. And none of it really works very well for me. And then I fell onto this kind of, just stick a camera on your head, cook, pretend that people are in the room with you and you're trying to explain what you're doing as you do it. And that formula kind of worked for me, and it seems to work for the audience. I'm not sure it's the right formula for a TV show because, it feels like it's kind of made for the internet, because it has that that sort of intimacy and that authenticity. Because, when I'm cooking on my YouTube channel, I'm cooking stuff that I'm like going to be serving my family later that night. It's not like there's no swaps, there's no extra cameras, there's no like behind the scenes kitchen where the prettier food is being made to show on camera.
There's no cold oven that you're putting things into, and then cold
exactly.
Things out of.
Well, and I love oh, go ahead.
Oh no, so I was going to say, that's not just, I am sort of still consistently working on potential new. I like pursuing new ideas. So that's not to say that there won't be any kind of TV thing. I'm in fact like in conversations currently with a production company who we might do a TV show together. But I really want to find the right thing, because I've got so many, like I like doing a lot of different things, and so at some point you kind of got to pick and choose. And so far, like the exact right team to work with and the exact right show concept just hasn't sort of come to be, and it's not necessarily something I'm actively pursuing. It's like my goal is not to be a TV star, right? If I get if we do something on TV, it'll be because it's something I want to do for fun, something that I think will reach an audience and help them. But like being on TV is sort of not part of my master plan,
I just watched your late night grilled cheese, like where you just make a grilled cheese and not even talking, and that was fantastic. Like it was just I love that.
Somehow that became like my most popular video of all time. I don't know. But so I used to make those videos. I called them, like late night, whatever. And what I would do is I would go out to, like a karaoke bar with some friends, get a little bit drunk. And then when I came home, I'd want to make a snack. So I just take a camera on my head and make a snack and then edit that down into like a 2-minute video without any talking. That's what that grilled cheese video was. And I did a bunch of those, and those are always super popular. But I quit drinking like, I'm on day 93 now, but I quit drinking. So now I don't make those late night snacks anymore. And I quit smoking pot like a long time ago. So I just don't make those late night snacks anymore. So,
right.
So I don't have that kind of content. And I'm not going to go get drunk just so I can make a silent grilled cheese video, even if it's really popular. Yeah.
Pretend like you got drunk.
Oh, it's hard.
And then do it.
Yeah.
I know.
There's a certain energy that comes with being drunk that like a little bit of a sloppiness and like, and also, a certain type of, I wouldn't say it's a creative spark, but like a, you lose your inhibitions. And so you're like, all right, I'm going to take this frozen stick of chorizo and just like messily grate it on top of, run it through a box grater and put it on a grilled cheese sandwich. And like, yeah, I might do that in real life, but I would do it a little bit neater and I wouldn't leave the mess behind. I think the kind of sloppiness of being slightly drunk is what actually is appealing to a lot of people on that. It's like they can feel like they got drunk, but without having the hangover.
Well, and I think that it has the same appeal in your regular show when you have to stop because you're like, oh, my daughter said something, I got to go, and you stop it and come back. Right. I love that because that really adds to that same kind of intimacy, just in a different way.
Yeah, I find online people want to connect.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's a platform built for connection. From everything down to like from the comments to the type of content produced for it. Like it's, it's people want to connect, and I enjoy connecting with the audience, so it works out for me.
Flavor Balance Heat is brought to you by High Desert Sauce Co. out of Tucson, Arizona. Zac is the owner and creative mind behind High Desert Sauce Co.'s hot sauces. He says, at High Desert Sauce Co. we make sauces that we love. The balance of bold heat and fresh flavor is the heart of our philosophy. We keep it simple by using the best ingredients we can get our hands on and letting the natural flavors run the show. High Desert Sauce Co. Just the good stuff. Visit High Desert at hdsauceco.com.
What's your favorite pepper, and what is your favorite spicy dish to make with that pepper?
My favorite pepper, I would say, based on the types of hot sauces I lean to, my favorite peppers are habaneros, or maybe Scotch bonnets, but something really with a good level of heat and like that it's the fruitiness and the sweetness of the habaneros I like. Although that said, when I'm cooking, I would say I probably cook most frequently with something like a poblano, because I really love making chile verde. I really love making like roasted poblano salsas. I love making chile rellenos. So something like a poblano, or maybe like a New Mexico, like a hash chili, something like that. So like a milder green pepper with a little is probably what I cook with most frequently. It's still hot, but not not like an habanero hot. And then what I really also love. I love Thai bird chilies. I cook a lot of Thai food at home, so I they also have that kind of balance of sort of really fruitiness and a bit of sweetness to them, and really intense heat that I like. So making like a pounding chilies in a mortar and pestle with garlic and palm sugar is like the start of a lot of cooking sessions for me.
So I have a question for you that Zac hates.
Sure.
Zac hates this question.
It's stupid.
All right. You're on a cruise ship. It goes down. You're the only survivor. You're on a desert island. Cuisine from the ship floats ashore all the time. So you have a wide range of things you can eat. But there was only one hot sauce on the ship, one pallet of it. So you get to have it on everything. What sauce would you like that to be?
Oh, probably the one I use most frequently is the Yucateco Kutbilik, the Mayan Yucateco hot sauce, the black one, which I think, as far as like a commercially available, you can get it in any supermarket. You can get it like probably at the corner grocery store. I think has the best sort of, it has that really nice sort of roast, sort of charred habanero flavor. It's got the sweetness. It's got like a pretty intense heat. I think it's just, it's it has a good balance of flavor and heat, I would say. So
the El Yucateco Black is what you?
Yeah, that's what I use most frequently at home. Like that, That's like on our table all the time. It's so like that one. The ones that we have all the time, everything rotates. So there's always like a rotating selection. But I would say maybe the four that we have at all times, like in the fridge or on the table, are the Yucateco Black, Frank's, the Mary Sharp's Belizean Heat, and probably Secret Aardvark.
Yep.
I remember.
Also, what's it called? Also, what's it called? Inner Beauty. We always have some Inner Beauty.
Oh,
I don't know
if I've tried that. Yeah.
Oh, Inner Beauty is a hot sauce that was created by Chris Schlesinger, who was the chef at a place called East Coast Grill in Cambridge. He created this hot sauce. So it's a kind of tropical hot sauce. It's pretty hot, not super hot, but it's like a mustard and mango and papaya sort of base, I think. He created this hot sauce at his restaurant, East Coast Grill, and then he started bottling it. And then, I remember my dad loved the sauce. My dad also lives in Cambridge, but my dad loved the sauce, and we always had a bottle of it in our fridge growing up at home. And he eventually he wrote the recipe on the back, like he came up with it on the back of a napkin. He has that recipe framed somewhere. And then he sold the recipe, and then it got sold again. And now it's made by, I can't remember what it's called. Maybe it's called Todd's Inner Beauty now or something. But it's somebody bought the recipe. It was out of production for a number of years, and then it came back into production, I think 3 or 4 years ago.
I remember reading about that sauce somewhere. Now that you mentioned it, wish I could remember where, but and I was looking up that recipe because I wanted to see what was in it because everybody was raving about this sauce. I remember that now.
Yeah, it's my favorite. That or Secret Aardvark are my favorite hot sauces to dip grilled cheese or quesadillas into, which is like, it's like my go-to snack is a quesadilla, and then like I'll squeeze some hot sauce straight onto the cutting board and just like dip it as I go. It's usually Secret Aardvark, maybe a mix of Secret Aardvark and like spicy yellow mustard, or Inner Beauty.
That was one of the reasons why I sent you our sauces early on. I was watching your videos and you opened your fridge and I saw your hot sauces there and I'm like, I need mine there. So I sent it to your restaurant and then I didn't expect, I'm like, you don't have to do anything. You were so nice and you posted about it, which was wonderful. And then oddly enough, Chef Zimmern, Chef AZ, down in the comments on your post said, I love their sauce. And I was like, when did he get our sauce? So I started talking to him. So you created another, we chat all the time. So.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
I'd love to send you some of my sauce. You should.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right?
I like tasting things. I like giving feedback and tasting things. Yeah.
Cool.
I now have since that time, I now have a dedicated hot sauce fridge in the basement because once it got to the point where it was a little over a third of our main fridge was hot sauces, I was like, it's probably time to get a separate fridge.
I actually periodically.
He is one of us,
right?
He's one of us.
I periodically clean out my fridge of hot sauces because like it just I want to keep tasting all the hot sauces, and then there's some that I want to finish the bottle, and then there's some that I don't. So gotta make room. So it's not a third of my fridge. It's just like the whole door. So
yeah, it's like when I had to choose like which child to keep.
When you had to choose,
so you got to make sacrifices.
We understand. We get it 100%. We get it.
So Kenji, what inspires you?
I mean, career-wise, what inspires me is hearing from people, hearing from readers or people who like watch my stuff and say they cooked this thing for their family or they made this thing for their kids and they loved it or they're just happy because they were in a rut and they picked up a new skill. So seeing that, ultimately cooking, like what I do, writing recipes, like ultimately it's pretty trivial compared to a lot of stuff that one could do, but at the same time, it's like one of those things where it feels like I'm glad to know that it enriches people's lives and it brings pleasure. Like it's not saving lives, but it's enriching lives and it's helping people connect and it's helping people feel better about themselves. It's helping people find joy. I think it's helping people feel empowered and develop new skills. And so, I think that's sort of what inspires me to keep doing this. That, and also, it's like, for me, a lot of the reason I do my job is just, I just find it really fun. It's really awesome to me that I can make a career doing something that I would be doing in my spare time if I couldn't make a career out of it, So that it's awesome and terrible in some ways also, because I feel like everything I do it ends up being somehow related to work, which is, its own separate thing.
Yep.
But, But it's like for years, I would watch cooking shows growing up on TV, and I'd be like, wait, but why? But you just said this, but wait, why this, why that? And I would go and try to find the answers in books, or talk to my chefs, and so to be able to have the opportunity to spend the time to like sort of sift through all of the information out there and really sort of get to the bottom of some questions I've had is a pretty cool thing for me. It's like everything. It feels like it feels like you're solving mysteries and like you're picking up clues and solving mysteries, which to me is fun.
I'm Claire George. I own Butterfly Bakery of Vermont. We make hot sauce, mustard, cookies, and granola, and 100% of our products are made with Vermont ingredients. The thing that I hear most often from people is that my hot sauce tastes like the peppers that are in it. We do really simple recipes that don't get too crazy and nitpicky, just to really accentuate the flavor of the peppers that are in there. The unique thing about our hot sauces is how much we feature the farm and the relationship with the farm and really bring the terroir of Vermont to our hot sauces. I am pretty sure I am the #1 purchaser of Vermont-grown chili peppers. I would love it if there would be a legitimate pepper market in Vermont where people would know Vermont for its peppers. We're all better for supporting each other. And I think that part really shows itself with the collaborations that I do with the other businesses and the other farms, that I love working together and coming up with new ideas and presenting each other with new challenges. And I think overall that's the attitude here. And I absolutely love it because that's my attitude. I try to live my life with love. The ingredients that I use, I would say that my values are reflected in that I use ingredients that, again, feel good, feel loving, feel supportive. The relationship with the farmer was how it all began. If I changed the reason for it being, if I went out and bought some commodity peppers, it might not be as good.
You can find Butterfly Bakery of Vermont hot sauce, mustard, granola, and cookies at butterflybakeryvt.com.
I don't know how long you've been talking with Spike, but his mind goes 8 million miles an hour. He's got a new idea every minute. Like, you know how it is. Like this podcast. He begged me to do this podcast for like 3 months before I broke down, and here I am.
Yeah.
So he has this idea to do a $100 hot sauce.
Okay.
And we are asking guests whether... what ingredient or process do you feel would warrant a $100 hot sauce?
Yeah, it has to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can put
we're gonna make a legit $100 hot sauce.
Put $100 worth of gold flake in there that I can strain out and turn into an earring.
Second time we heard that.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean,
I
can't think of any hot sauce that would be worth $100.
Put you on the spot with that.
It was the last bottle of hot sauce that my dad made before he died. Maybe that's worth some money.
Yeah.
I don't know. No, he's not dead. I'm kidding.
Oh.
But I don't know. I mean, I guess there's already like a truffle hot sauce out there, and it's not $100. But I've never tried it. I assume it tastes bad. But like most jarred
100%.
I don't know. I mean, chilies picked by hand from the jungle primeval.
We
deep in the jungles of where did the I don't remember.
Guatemala.
Yeah.
Guatemala.
Yeah.
we've had koji fermentation was one of our answers.
Okay.
We've had a few different ones that have been. Yeah, plums.
What about if you made it go through like a balsamic vinegar aging process where you age it in sequentially smaller and smaller barrels made out of different types of wood until you have like a really intense concentrated sauce at the end with all the flavors of the wood.
Well, I have a barrel right now of vinegar that's been aging for a year in my kitchen, so we could start with that.
That could do it, right? the amount of money it takes to age something for a really extended period of time, because you have to pay for the space to store it and you have to maintain it, like that could add up to $100. Like, a bottle of balsamic vinegar costs more than $100, and it's just because it takes that long to, whatever it is, 27 years or something to make it.
Have you had expensive ingredients in your kitchens that are worth it? that you've enjoyed working with?
Well, I don't know what worth it means. It's like, I've worked in restaurants where we buy white truffles at like, thousands of dollars a pound or an ounce. It's worth it to work with those ingredients because I'm not paying for them, but I wouldn't buy a white truffle on my own. I know, but I do, I like, sometimes I'll splurge for like a black truffle at Christmas or something. Like if we want to do something super fancy and like, I'll splurge. I think, I don't know what worth it means. There are expensive ingredients I really love. Like I love truffles. I love foie gras. I love caviar. I love all those things. I don't always have the budget to buy them. I do think to myself, like, once a winter, I like to sort of pick a restaurant that I know has like white truffles and go and just say, today I'm going to like do a white truffle splurge meal and just get like, a plate of pasta with white truffle shaved on it and be like, all right, I'm going to spend $200 on this. I'll do it once a year, maybe once every few years. And to me, that is worth it because it's just a unique experience, I think. But I can also see that seems completely ridiculous to many people, to most people probably.
No, I mean, you got to take care of yourself. You got to treat yourself once in a while.
It's like, it's like, for me, it's that. It's like I go to people's houses and I see they have like a wall of like, the people who collect sneakers and they pay a couple $100 for a pair of sneakers that they never wear. And to me, like, that seems crazy, but it's like, I'm not going to judge you for that. You do that. Like, I'll spend that $200 on a truffle meal that I'm going to crap out 6 hours later. Right? Like either one of us could accuse the other of being wasteful, but
yeah, but your meal gave you energy. Those shoes just sit on that shelf.
That's possibly true. Yeah.
Yeah. So hot takes. You know what a hot take is, right? It's
sure.
The opposite of the norm. You have that. So do you have any hot sauce or spicy food hot takes?
Well, I would say my hot sauce hot take is that on the whole, broadly commercially available hot sauces are better than those hot sauces made by small producers. There are exceptions, but on the whole, if you go and see like a no-name, like a tiny label at the supermarket or whatever at the hot sauce shop, and you try it compared to like something that's been on the market and tested for a long time, it's probably not going to be as good. But by just sticking with the commercial stuff, you don't branch out, you don't find anything exciting. But yeah, that would be my hot take, that most people getting into the game are not very good at it until they've had some experience at it.
I agree. We've gone around with other makers, and I've said, because we get a lot of hot sauce from people, and we've done like what percentage of them are good for you, and for me, it's like 20% is probably good. Mm-hmm. 15.
And when you say by good, you mean just sort of like technically well made,
yeah, just something I would like. Otherwise,
or that you don't see a flaw in.
Yeah, the other 75% I don't finish. It's most of the time.
I mean, it's hard to differentiate yourself, right? Because there's so many hot sauces out there, and everybody wants to do it, and it's hard to differentiate, and especially if your differentiation is really just like, not adding crazy flavors, just like really working on coming up with like something simple that is, well, I'll use the word again, but that is well balanced, because it is relatively easy to differentiate by say adding hibiscus and long pepper, whatever it is, adding your crazy ingredients and saying, hey, nobody else has done this flavor combination before, but just like nailing a really basic sort of pure chili, fermented chili flavor profile that is unique is, I think, really hard.
Claire's cilantro onion is one of my all-time favorite hot sauces. And what ingredients are in that, Claire?
It's cilantro, onions, green jalapenos, vinegar, and salt.
And it's just beautiful. She literally sent me a half gallon recently.
I want to send you some of our single varietal sauces. So because we work directly with farms, we get these like really cool peppers, and we have this one that people have really been loving, called a mystery pepper sauce, which I didn't have it when I sent you guys Zac and Spike sauces. So I'll send you a bottle too. And it's really basic. Cool. It's pepper, vinegar, salt. Like there's no, but we're using, we get vinegar that's made locally. So it's a white vinegar, but it's not distilled. So it's still got like the mother, and it's got a little bit of a fermented flavor. And, nice. And this mystery pepper is just sprung up in a field of ghost peppers. And it's got the flavor of a golden ghost, but the and not quite the heat level of a golden ghost, but like a little under, still pretty hot, but the juiciness and sweetness of a bell pepper. It's really
okay.
good.
Yeah.
I'll send you guys some.
I mean, you guys know that, like, chili oils, especially like chili crisp, has gone through a thing like in the last few years, right?
Yes.
And there's so many of those on the market now. Like, how do you feel about that trend?
Well, I'm just going to step in before they do. My hot take is I hate chili crisp.
Oh, really? Just the one specific brand, or as a concept in general?
It's
like
the concept.
as a category of stuff?
I don't like the taste of like oil. Like just I don't like eating just oil, and then the crisp itself is like gets stuck in my teeth, and I just
got it. So even something like a Mexican, like salsa macha, like a Mexican oil based hot sauce.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually got one in New York City, and I was like, "Oh, this looks really interesting." And I opened it up, and I was like, "Oh, no, this isn't gonna be for me."
Got it. Okay, all right.
But it's my hot take. I recognize that.
I personally have been trying to figure out the legal process to bring a chili oil to market because I do chili oil.
You like it?
Fun.
Nice.
I love chili oils, and I would like to make one at some point, but it has to be worth it. I have to have an avenue at it. So at some point I'll try and figure it out. But it's
a very different process from making a hot sauce.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Have you tried the Kari Kari? It's a Seattle brand, like a local Seattle brand called Kari Kari.
No.
Oh, well, I can send all three. I'll get your information. I'll send all three of you a jar that I bought a case of it before Christmas to use as gifts for people because it's my favorite chili oil.
Oh, wow.
And I should say, I do like chili oil, like using it the way you would use an oil. I mean, I like oils. Chili crisp, like putting oil like straight up on my food. I don't.
Got it. Well, I'll send you a jar of this. You might like it.
And my husband loves that stuff, so that's fine too. But Zach, I was going to say, legality wise, it's the same as a salad dressing. So there's no, it's not acidified. If you have any acid, it's just acid formulated. I can't say it right, but formulated. Nope. But you can just hot pack it. So you have to deal with issues of rancidity, concerns with hot packing it. And I don't know as much about that, but legally wise, it's just, you're making another food.
Awesome.
Okay.
Do those rules change like when you're selling within a state or if you're taking it across state borders?
State laws vary widely.
Got it.
For acidified foods. So we all fall under acidified food productions, which have this whole extra set of rules beyond if you're just like, I started as a bakery. So baked goods, we can just do whatever the heck we want with our just health department inspection. But with acidified foods, we have to submit all our recipes to the FDA or submit our processes to the FDA. And we have to jump through all these hoops and follow these logging and things. But
got it. And so does that mean that there are, like, for example, are there states you can't ship a hot sauce to because they have rules that are stricter than what you've been producing under?
No. So the United States has the I don't remember what law it is, but basically you can't hinder commerce between states. That was actually a big deal during the pandemic because all of a sudden states were like closing their borders, and that's something that states kind of aren't allowed to do. So anything that's approved in one state can be sold in any state.
Got it. Okay.
Now, countries can have different laws. And like, I know a Canadian hot sauce maker who has to follow American rules because he sends stuff to the United States, even though Canadian rules are totally different than American rules.
Got it.
Yeah.
I know that California has the strictest rules that we've come across. We have a friend that bottles there.
Yeah.
Really, really strict. I mean, which is good.
I mean, it's not a bad thing. So the FDA is warranted. They don't do what they should do. So California stepped in like, hey, we're going to be the FDA, and they have to get every batch of sauce that they make released by the state.
Yeah. So somebody has to come to your facility and test your sauce before each batch. Yep.
Wow.
Every batch.
Wow, that's intense.
As opposed to in Vermont, which we just kind of do what we want.
Yeah.
And I'm in Idaho.
Same in Arizona.
Idaho, Vermont, and Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona, okay.
Arizona.
How's the winter been in Vermont so far?
No, shitty. This has been a shitty winter.
Yeah.
It is 46 degrees today, which is awful.
Yeah.
We've had rain this winter. We'll get like a giant snow dump and then it'll rain and it'll all melt and then flooding. We had flooding in December, which why. No, this is a ridiculous
In December.
winner.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
So
rough. Yeah.
When I just had this, like, somebody just made this brilliant suggestion that we should do, because I mentioned we do goat's milk caramel, that as like a recipe for our website, we should do caramel on snow. Cook it down further and then have it, like sugar on snow, but caramel on snow. And I was like, that's really great. No snow in the forecast for the next 2 weeks at all. A little bit of rain, but no snow. So.
Oh man. Well, that's rough.
Yeah.
All right.
Would you believe I forgot.
Go get it.
So Kenji, we're doing a hot sauce show and tell. So,
okay.
So you get to show off a hot sauce that you think that we should all know about.
Are we all showing off? Should I?
Yes, we're all showing off. So you get to start.
Okay. All right. So this is the inner beauty. I have a case of it. So
cool.
Yeah, this is it is called Todd's Inner Beauty now. It's made in Maine. But yeah, this is originally Chris Schlesinger from the East Coast Grill in Cambridge. It's his recipe that was then bought, I think changed hands a couple times, and now is made by this company called Todd's in Maine. But to my taste, it tastes pretty much what I remember it before they relaunched it. Obviously you can't really do it. Actually, you know what? I bet my mom still has a jar from like 20 years ago in her fridge at home. I would not be surprised if she had the same like jar that was in there when I went off to college or something. So maybe I can compare it to a 25-year-old bottle, but or even, it would be even older than that because it was 25, 30-year-old bottle. I bet she has one. But anyhow, I really love it. It's got let's see, it's a mustard-based sauce with some tropical flavors. A reasonable amount of heat, but not crazy hot. And I think it's I think it's great. It's great on I use it for dipping grilled cheese, dipping quesadillas. I think it's also really great when you have like something like a grilled seafood, like grilled shrimp or grilled lobster dipped into a little bit of this. I think is really great. It's just a really good all around sauce. Anything you would put mustard on, I think. Or hot sauce on, you can use this.
Awesome.
That sounds great.
What you got, Claire?
I couldn't remember what I had brought before, what I've shown before and what I haven't. So I grabbed something I know I haven't shown. So it's not a hot sauce, but it's a locally made. There we go. Sober Mesa is a local company, and they call it a kimchi paste. They used to call it gochujang. I think that it's their own invention of things. But use it just like a gochujang, and it is way better than almost any gochujang I've ever had. And it is, I mix it in with like, sour cream or like creme fraiche and use it as like a dipping sauce. I use it in any sort of like stir fry or just like as an intro, the beginning of a lot of sauces. I'll also spread it on like burgers is really, really good. You can't really see the back, but it's actually pretty empty. But I know I haven't shown this one before and I love it.
Zach, you go next. Yeah.
Me? Oh man, I can either show off something I make or recycle another bottle.
Show off something you made. Why not?
Let's break the rules. I'd like to see what you make.
Yeah.
All right, we'll show off the cafe mole.
All right.
So it's like an authentic mole, but made with coffee, and it's hot.
That sounds great.
I don't know.
And I brought you're probably familiar with. Oh, go ahead, Zach. What were you going to say?
Oh no.
So you're probably familiar with Lucky Dog.
Yeah. They're also California based.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, we just interviewed Scott a couple weeks ago, and this is his Pizza Peach. It's a really good one.
I don't think I've tried that one.
I'm not a big fan of. I make a peach one that I like. I've tasted other people's peaches sauces, and this one is one I do like. It's really good. The peach comes through, which is what I always want. So,
yeah, I find it's with a lot of sort of fresh fruits, even like fresh, with jarred hot sauces in general. I find sometimes you lose that freshness, especially something like a peach. It's like. Yeah, you don't want it to taste like canned peaches, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard to get that flavor to come through. I'm assuming because it's like the pasteurization process or whatever it is, like something in there that the preservation, something that makes it, I don't know, it steals some flavors that are hard to get in there.
Yeah, as soon as you have that vinegar, it pickles it and it gets weird.
Yeah.
We have a client that uses flavorings to just help emphasize like fruit flavors. And when they first approached me and said that this is what they used, I got all like, snobby about it and was just like, oh, you're using flavorings. And I tried these things and I was like, these are really fantastic. They're all natural. They come from the fruit itself. But it's like really common in like orange juices, for example, that they have these added flavors that come from oranges. So it's not listed as a separate thing in the ingredients. But they really, this like particular one, it just tastes like you just picked that fruit off the plant and you're enjoying it on a beautiful summer day. And I was like, I don't know if I should complain about that because it's really great.
Yeah. What is the flavor? I think it's maybe like artificial raspberry flavoring or something, like something that comes from like the anal gland of beavers. There is one flavoring that's like, yeah, this came out of a beaver's ass.
Oh, wow.
Well, I was just going to say that the Milky Way tastes like raspberries, right? Didn't they determine that?
Do they?
Yeah, that the Milky Way tastes like raspberries.
How did they determine that?
I think it was
just by like the bulk of the chemicals in it or something?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, interesting.
So what's next for you, Mr. Kenji?
What's next? Well, I got that podcast, which I guess has just launched if you're listening to this at the end of February. So that's been exciting. Our podcast is called The Recipe. It's me and Deb Perlman from Smitten Kitchen, and we talk about classic recipes and our versions of them. And the idea is that we want to sort of show behind the scenes of how the recipe development process works, and in that process and discussing that, showing you how you can sort of tweak recipes to be your own, and really sort of diving deep into why we do certain things in individual recipes. Our first episodes are about macaroni and cheese, meatloaf, and let's see what else. Oh, pancakes, tomato soup. We're going to cover all the classics and kind of dive deep into them. So that's pretty fun. And I'm working on a new book as well. It'll be a couple years before it's out because it'll be another kind of big one. But
you don't.
I guess I'm always working on a new book.
You don't do small books.
I did a kid's book. That was pretty small.
That's true.
But
true.
The kid's book took longer to write. I mean, it was more work to write that one than my big book. But I have not historically done small cookbooks. No.
That podcast sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
That's recipe development is my thing, and I used to be a recipe writer, and then decided to just put my energy into my own business. But that's the why behind recipe development is just my favorite thing to exist with.
Well, we're not at the point where we're having guests on the show yet, but if we do come to that point, we should have we should do a hot sauce episode.
Yeah.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'd be happy to show
up.
up.
At some point, I did send you a message trying to get you to start working on a hot sauce book.
On a hot sauce book?
Yeah, there's no definitive hot sauce book out there, and I think it's
you mean like
the time
cooking with hot sauces or making hot sauces?
Making it, yeah, and there's such a wealth of knowledge out there about hot sauce. It's all over the world. I think there really isn't anything standard that you can go to, and there's a big hole.
Mikey V wrote a hot sauce book, dude, like 100 recipes from around the world.
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I'm not really. I'm honestly not much of a hot. Like we made hot fermented chilies and made hot sauce in my restaurant. I don't really make it at home. Although, my daughter for Christmas this year bought me a hot sauce making kit. Yeah, she.
I don't know if you know this.
Was like, oh, Papa, you like hot sauce? Here's a. And she brought me a hot sauce making kit, which I thought was very thoughtful of her.
So you're going to get addicted. You're going to become a hot sauce maker, and you're going to be our fourth co-host.
I'm not joking. So many people we've had on here got a hot sauce making kit before they started a hot sauce company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, no joke.
I thought it was a very thoughtful gift. Yeah, I haven't used it yet, but maybe this summer we'll grow chilies and we'll ferment them.
One of our plans of like a new product is releasing our own hot sauce making kit with our vinegar and our peppers, but we'd have to like dehydrate them, which is we don't have a big dehydration setup, and so I have to figure out how to do it. But I just feel like getting a hot sauce making kit.
Do you have an oven?
Do you have an oven? I do have ovens.
So 190 degrees and kind of prop the door open a little bit and just keep. Shaking them around in the pan. It takes fucking ever. Like 12 hours.
I had the opportunity to buy this like heat pump dehydrator that fit 4 whole like speed racks in them, and it was I had to turn it down. But oh man, that would have just been a beautiful.
Sun dry, sun's free.
There's not a lot of it in Vermont.
Yeah, I guess not.
So, actually, today was sunny. It was
overnight in the meat.
There we go.
A restaurant I worked at that will remain nameless used to have us put our tomatoes in at $2.50 and leave.
For the night.
Yeah, for the night. And
yeah. We would do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not uncommon.
Yeah.
Yep. In fact, the restaurant that did that I worked at also had a kitchen fire one night. Not related to the tomatoes,
that's good.
Because someone accidentally turned the heat on we would also leave stock going overnight, because we'd cook our veal stock for 30 whatever something hours, and somebody accidentally turned it up to high heat before leaving. Oh, and that caused a big fire.
I had some friends visiting, and they wanted to see my cannery because they hadn't seen it yet. So we went and visited on a Sunday, and discovered that somebody had knocked the knob on our stove before leaving. We actually think it was Thursday that had happened, just given on like who was where and when, and it was just pumping out propane into the building for days. And we walked in and we were like, that's a funny smell. But then we were like, oh, maybe it's some onions, because it was that time of year that we were bringing in a lot of onions. And then we got to the kitchen and we could hear the hiss of the propane coming out. And at the time, I thought propane was heavier than air. So I was like, I'm going to open my garage, my overhead doors, and the motor's way up there. So I'll open them. And then fortunately, what I didn't know didn't kill me, because propane's lighter than air, and that means it was right next to the motors that we opened. It all left, and it was fine. But we could have it literally exploded the whole place to smithereens. Yeah.
Oh man.
I should have just called the fire department. Let them do it.
Yeah. Well, what you're supposed to do is to see where the propane is coming from. You get really close, and then to get a little more light, you light a lighter right next to it.
Good call. Okay, I'll give that a try next time. Yeah, we did actually. That same stove just like a month ago sprouted a leak out the side, and it was shooting flames just like off in one direction. Yeah, it's good.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we shouldn't bottle this $100 facility.
That's the stove we would be cooking on.
Kind of sounds like
but it has a brand new gas line. So
right.
Kind of sounds like a death trap.
That's most restaurant places.
Right.
Kitchens, yeah.
Kenji, do you have any questions for us?
Oh, I feel like I've been asking my questions along the way.
It's okay.
Let's see. No, I don't think not when I'm just put on the spot like that. Sorry,
he's been asking questions the whole time.
Yeah, he has, absolutely.
Good
well, I am really, this has been wonderful. And I've been excited about doing this for a while. So thank you so much. I was nervous to ask you.
Oh, no, I like doing stuff like this. Yeah. I'm always up for helping, talking to interesting people about interesting stuff. So no, this was a pleasure for me. This is definitely the longest conversation I've ever had about hot sauce, and the first hot sauce podcast I've ever been invited to. So.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
Yay.
It's been great having you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Flavor Balance Heat, the podcast for hot sauce lovers and makers, has been a Spike Mind Media production.